Okay, we can start now. Bob, Vlad, you can play the video.
For over 100 years, the Philippine Women's University has been known as a leader in quality education. In 1934, PWU moved into its main campus on Taft Avenue, and since the 1970s has been co-educational. Located in the heart of Metro Manila, it is easily accessible by public transport and surrounded by affordable housing. PWU School of Nursing has been offering high-quality, student-centered, and innovative nursing programs for over 6 decades. PWU's graduate programs upgrade the qualifications of nursing professionals, allowing them to advance in their chosen fields in the Philippines and globally. In the allied health fields, PWU pioneered in programs such as pharmacy, which was established in 1926 to train students who want to succeed in any aspect of pharmacy services. The first women doctors polyclinic in the Philippines was set up in PWU in 1951. In 1986, PWU's Bachelor of Science in Nutrition and Dietetics became the first nutrition program to be accredited by the Philippine Association of Colleges and Universities. PWU was also the first educational institution in the Philippines to focus on the prevention of acute illnesses and chronic diseases through its Master of Science in Clinical Nutrition program taught jointly with the St. Luke's Medical Center. PWU School of Medical Technology offers a competency-based curriculum enhanced by intensive training in clinical laboratory procedures. Offering a Bachelor of Science in Medical Technology and a Master's program in Medical Technology and Health Systems Management, PWU also offers a certificate program in phlebotomy. In nursing and the allied health fields, PWU continues to play an essential role in healthcare education, producing graduates who possess the skills that make them competitive in the country and anywhere in the world.
Good morning, everyone. Before we start, let me just inform you about the webinar rules and regulation. First, we find a place conducive for learning. Second, put your mic on off or mute to avoid unnecessary noise and unusual swang. Let an ear if someone is speaking. Let him hear or finish the statement before stating your point of view. For the question and answer portion, prepare your question to research speaker and chat box. Please observe online etiquette at all times. Thank you. Once again, good morning, everyone. Thank you for finding times on today's webinar entitled The Legal Foundations of Nursing Philosophy. My name is Alma Axalan, a Doctor of Philosophy and Nursing student, and the Infection Prevention Control Officer of Calamba Doctors Hospital in Calamba City, Laguna. And I will be the moderator for today's event. Before we proceed, I would like to inform all the participants that we are live on Facebook and YouTube. You may click share so that others may know this activity. Ladies and gentlemen, let us begin with a short prayer and give respect to the Philippine flag through the pambansang awit ng Pilipinas. We are so happy with your presence and participation in this event, and we know that by the end of this webinar, you will gain valuable insights that you may apply in your daily life. In the meantime, let me call on my co-webinar facilitator to acknowledge our presence in this very important event. A Doctor of Philosophy in Nursing student and entrepreneur from Calibo, Aklan, no other than Ms. Elfa Marie Baes.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Alma. Now that we are all geared up for today's webinar, we would like to recognize and acknowledge important people in this webinar. Our resource speaker, Attorney John Stephen Humiwat, the Philippine Women's University President, Mr. Marco Alfredo Benetis, our beloved Dean, Dr. Minerva Diala, our Vice President for Academic Affairs, Dr. Felina Young, Dr. Menchita F. Dumlao, the Program Chair, the faculty members of the School of Nursing, the Multimedia and ICT team, the Graduate School. Lastly, this seminar is not possible without you, our participants and attendees from the PWU nursing community and the participants for the different schools of nursing. Welcome and enjoy today's webinar.
Thank you, Ms. Elfa. And now to formally welcome you all and explain the objective of this activity, may I call on the group leader, the clinical nurse supervisor of Calamba Medical Center and adjunct clinical faculty of Laguna State Polytechnic University, Mr. Arvin Baes.
Thank you, Ma'am Alma. Good morning and welcome, everyone. Thank you for being with us today. We are very pleased to be able to welcome all of you for this first webinar from the School of Nursing Graduate Studies entitled The Legal Foundations of Nursing Philosophy. We want to express our deepest gratitude to our guest speaker, nurse lawyer, advocate, attorney John Stephen Humiwat, PWU faculty and technical experts, classmates, colleagues, and student nurses from different parts of the country who's joining us through Facebook and YouTube live streaming. These webinars' objectives are to establish a strong legal background on the fundamental rights of nurses and to reflect on the legal issues relevant to nursing practice. I would like to congratulate in advance our class and our group for the success of this webinar. We wish everyone a very welcome to all of you, and let us all learn together. God bless and keep safe, everyone.
Thank you, sir. A warm welcome to all of us. Ladies and gentlemen, we may call one of the brilliant people of the Philippine Women's University for a very important part of this program. To listen from his inspiring message and as to formally introduce the resource speaker. He is the Dean of Review, the Academics and Services Director, and of Dr. Carr Ibalita Review Center, and a graduate school faculty of the Philippine Women's University School of Nursing. I am proud to present to you Dr. John Oliver De Leon.
And thank you so much, Ms. Alma, and I would like to welcome all of you in our today's event. So to those who are watching via Google Meet and watching via Facebook Live, good morning to all of you. Greetings in peace, health, prosperity, and peace amidst the pandemic. To our guest speaker, Attorney Stephen, University President, Marco Benitez, Dean of School of Nursing, Dr. Minerva Diala, VPAA, Dr. Felina Young, Dr. Mark Santos, the faculty members, the students of the Philippine Women's University School of Nursing, and all the participants of our event. A blessed morning amidst the pandemic. I want to start this day by making you believe that you are blessed. I would like you to believe yourself today that you are blessed. Can you please tell yourself, I am blessed? Or if you're in the comment section right now, in the Google Meet or in the chat box of the Facebook Live, can you please comment, I am blessed? Tell yourself. Because by waking up with another day, by having something to eat, by having our families with us right now, or even having the opportunity to listen to this free webinar, and we can actually definitely feel that we're blessed. Let's always see the positivity in things. A year ago, when this pandemic struck us, one thing is inevitable. It is change. Our lifestyle, education, tradition, culture, habits, and even our own selves. We've definitely experienced changes. And it seems that the only way that we can do is to adapt. Adapt in the world that is continuously changing. That's why we have to improve ourselves the best way that we can do. We have to empower and enable ourselves so that we can do otherwise to others. Let's start with ourselves. Remember that self-love is not selfish. Remember that if you cannot love yourself, how in the hell can you love somebody else? Can I get an amen to that? And at this point, I would like to instill your hearts with hope. The hope that there's a new tomorrow, that there's a place that we are intended to go, a destiny that you are meant to be. The next is love. Live every day with love in our lives. See the grace of the world and everything that's here for us. And last is pray. Let's pray together for a better future, for all of this pandemic to end, and a beautiful tomorrow and a fresh start for every one of us. And lastly, I would like everyone right now listening to me and listening to this webinar to please smile. To our speakers and other members of the team, please smile, because that smile will radiate in your life to hope, love, and prayers. And now, to formally introduce to you our speaker for the topic, Legal Foundations in Nursing Philosophy. He is a man who wears many hats and has achieved so much at a young age. A cum laude, a nursing licensure exam top-notcher, and one of the national finalists in the 10 Outstanding Students of the Philippines. Our speaker is currently a practicing lawyer and student who is taking his master's course for political economy at the University of Asia and the Pacific in Pasig City. He also completed an honors class in nursing informatics from the University of Illinois. A legal counsel in the fields of family, labor, business, and corporate laws, as well as in civil and criminal litigations. Our speaker is also a nurse and a policy analyst from the government and private sectors, a nurse advocate, a national reviewer for different review programs, and language coach of the biggest review center in the Philippines and the Asia Pacific, Dr. Carl E. Balita Review Center. He is also a professor at the Lyceum College of Law. Let us welcome a very close and good friend of mine, a fellow Eagle, a co-member of the CBRC Guilds of Top Notcher, a COVID survivor. He just actually recovered several days ago, and a son every parent would wish to have. Ladies and gentlemen, Attorney John Stephen Johnson Humiwat. Attorney Stephen.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I'm broadcasting live from the CBRC Baes studio. I want to greet you all a very pleasant morning. Good morning to our organizers, to the president of the Philippine Women's University, whom I am very proud of because my mother is an alumna of the Philippine Women's University. A shout out to her. Good morning. Good morning, Dr. Janos, once again, and the conveners of this webinar. So good morning, nurses. Good morning, fellow Filipinos who are watching where in any part of the world right now. I've heard that you have registered in this webinar, and the volumes of those who registered in the seminar is very amazing. And it only shows that a lot of you are interested to know the legal foundations of the philosophy of nursing, and also because you want to know your rights. Okay? So good morning once again, everyone. Before I start my talk, let me engage you in an activity, okay? So kindly scan or type in the QR code, which I will be flashing on the screen behind me. Okay, you can scan the QR code or you can access the link above the QR code. I will be giving you 30 seconds to do so. This is a very interesting activity. So let me know you guys, because as much as I want to be face to face with you, be with you physically, the pandemic has done so much, okay? But I want to reach out to you. And how could I reach to you? By this activity. I want to know you more. Don't worry, this is not an exam. It's not like the board exam. It's not a comprehensive exam in your master's or in your PhD, okay, or your doctorate degree, but it's something that would let me and allow me to get to know you. So kindly scan the QR code and behind me, and or you may type the link, which is also presented. Yeah, okay. So I'll be giving you 10 seconds to do so. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay? So, all right. So have you logged in? All right, so there are 6 people who joined the web this code. So again, let's start. Okay, how did you know about this course? Okay, just click the link so you can see behind me. Okay, so some of you, or most of you, okay, okay, found out about this webinar through social media. Okay. And then some of you also learned about this through family and friends. Some of you, okay, made an online search. Okay, some of you saw this in ads, and some of you others. Okay, so this is the statistic. So a lot of you pala are attuned with social media. Okay, and online social media is very important nowadays because that's where we learn information. So ayan, okay. Yung iba sa inyo naman are actually actively searching, okay? Some learned it from friends and some learned it from others, okay? And then some saw this in ads. Okay, so you learned about this course. Now, let's move on to the next question. All right. What is your level of nursing education? Don't be shy. You will be anonymous. And whatever your level of nursing education is, you are welcome in this webinar because this webinar is for all. Okay. So, okay, may isang sumagot, MS or MAN or candidate or holder. All right. All right, yung iba sagot na. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Okay, asa na yung ibang sagot? All right. Okay. All right. So where are you now? So let me know whether you are in Luzon, Visayas, or Mindanao. Wow. Okay. So okay, some are in Luzon. Okay. 50% are outside of the Philippines. 50%, 60% are in Luzon. Okay? Alright, so dumadami ang mga taga Luzon. Okay? Some are outside of the Philippines. Alright. Okay? Some of you might be outside of the Philippines and trying to, complete your CPD. Okay, so yeah, okay. Because this is a self-directed learning, which can be credited as a CPD when you submit it before the CPD Council for the Board of Nursing. Okay, so dumarami, 75%, majority are in Luzon. Okay, so sa susunod na webinar, let's reach out to Visayas and Mindanao kasi maaga pa kasi 8 pa lang, tulog pa yung iba siguro. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. All right, 3 words that come into your mind when you hear the word nursing. Okay, there is no right and wrong answer. Just express how you feel about nursing. Okay, no judgments. I just want to know how you feel about nursing. Okay. Okay, I'm waiting. Okay, wala silang masabi. Napaka-speechless nila. Okay, so yan, meron na. Vocation, service, compassion, healthcare. Okay, let's wait some more. Patient. Okay, passionate. Okay. Oh, service, care. Okay. Ayan. Alright. Love. Napaka ano naman. Dahil a few days from now, it's gonna be the month of love. Okay? February na next a week after this. Okay. So, let's move on to the next question. 3 words that come into your mind when you hear the word law. Waiting, waiting. Alright. Parang speechless sa mga tao Parang speechless ang ating mga audience when they hear the word law. Okay, legal, politics, rights. Okay? I just want to have a glimpse of how the extent of how you understand law. That's why I asked these questions. Okay, protection. Okay. Yan, abide by the law. Okay, legal. Order. Okay, order in the court. Okay, there is a word here which talks about limitations. Ayan, may limitations. Okay, rules. Okay, and a very important component when it comes to law, which is justice. Okay, so, all right. So, at least I'm seeing the words in your definition, okay? In your own words, what is the definition of law? Okay, so let's move on to the next question. All right, what do you expect to get out of this course? So let's set your expectation, okay? What do you expect today? What do you expect to learn today? So I may know, baka there is something that I want to add in my presentation, impromptu, di ba? Na interested kayong malaman. And there is a question and answer portion for that, okay? So let me know, what do you expect to learn today? All right. Waiting, waiting, waiting some more. Okay. Ako, mukhang speechless ang mga ano. Alright. Open-minded ba kayo? Okay, so, alright. So, you don't expect anything today. So, that's good. Okay. But my expectation today is that you open your mind and allow yourself to, learn from this exercise. Alright? So, I guess we have the last question already. Okay, that's the last question. All right. So, walang expectation. Ayun, meron na. To know the implications of the legal aspects of nursing, says Miss Annalisa, okay, Cristobal. Right as a nurse. Okay. Yes, we will be discussing that. I want to know how to protect my rights as a registered nurse in the hospital. Partly, we will discuss about that. Okay. All right, so are there any more expectations? These are the top 3 expectations that we have. Okay. Okay, ayan. Latest nursing law. Okay, yes, we will be discussing a lot of latest trends in nursing, especially in the legal aspect, because 2019 was a year where there was a landmark jurisprudence which talked about the value of nurses, lalo na in terms of salary. Now, there is a literature on the legalities of the nursing practice. Definitely, that's the bulk. Okay. Okay, so are there any more expectations? All right. All right, so I guess that's it. Okay, so I would like to welcome you formally to this seminar, and I hope that you sit back, relax. If you wish so, you can take down notes. So thank you very much for joining me in the activity. At least I got to know some of you through your thoughts and through your answers. So thank you very much. Now, I will be discussing about the anatomy of law and the physiology of nursing. Why anatomy of law? Because law is something, okay? Law is something that we cannot see. But how can we analyze it? So I'm gonna break down law for you. What does law mean, and how does it affect our lives as nurses, as professionals, as individuals? But I will be focusing on, because the law is a set of rules, okay? It's a set of conduct, okay? And you know, one of the most profound philosophers came out in this pandemic. And you know who that person is? Okay, let me show you, okay? Sa classroom may batas, bawal lumabas. O, bawal lumabas. Pero pag sinabi, pag nag-comply ka na bawal na lumabas, pero may ginawa ka, pinagbabawal nila, inayos mo yung law ng classroom nyo at sinubmit mo ulit, ay pwede na pala ikaw lumabas. Okay. Until now, it remains a profound mystery to me what that means. So, yun, napaisip talaga ako. So, one of the greatest thinkers of the 2019 pandemic, 2020 COVID-19 pandemic is Miss Kim Chu. Hanggang ngayon, hindi ko pa rin maintindihan kung ano ang ibig niya sabihin sa batas. Kaya napapaisip ako. Kaya ang nangyari, nagkalkal ako ng notes ko way back in my first year in law school. Alright, so let's discuss about the definition of law. Law is a very abstract concept. Hindi mo siya maintindihan. And one author says that law, as human beings, the law is our manual. This is how we operate. This regulates our relationship with others, okay? Kung ikaw ay walang relationship na yon, or in a relationship na yon, or whatever relationship that is, okay? The law is that, okay, set of norms, set of conduct, set of rules. Kaya nasabi nyo kanina, there is a rule. Now, let's go into the briefly a definition by Arturo Tolentino, one of the eminent civilist in the Philippines. According to him, sabi niya, law is the science of moral rules founded on the rational nature of man, which governs his free activity for the realization of individual and social ends, of a nature both demandable and reciprocal. So, ayun nga, it is a set of rules, okay? There should be rational, okay? Founded on the rational nature of man, okay? So it should be governed by reason, okay? It governs the conduct, okay, of his activity, and it has a social, okay, end to it, okay? Like for example, justice, diba? Okay. And it is demandable. Pwede mo siyang i-demand your rights to be respected, no? And if someone violates your right, you can demand from that person to respect your right, okay, within the force of law. And it should be reciprocal. Kasi syempre, where your right ends, the right of others begin. Okay? So, yun ang sabi ni Arturo Tolentino. But let's go deeper. Okay? We discussed the anatomy of law. Okay? When we talk about law, it's a very broad concept. Hindi mo siya mahawakan, hindi mo siya nakikita, pero nararamdaman natin siya. Why? Okay. Now, let's go into two dimensions. Okay? When we talk about law, okay, we talk about two branches, two important branches of law. The first one is the jural laws, and the second one is the non-jural law, okay? When we talk about the non-jural law, this is a law which is bigger than us. Why? Because it is something that our minds cannot fully grasp and fathom, but can only understand as it is revealed to us. And an example, okay, of a non-jural law is divine law, something that comes from beyond us. Okay? If you believe in God, if you believe in Allah, if you believe in the teachings of Buddha, you know, this talks about the divine law. Okay, when we talk about natural law, this talks about your morality, your conscience. Okay, it is something that has to do with, you know, natural laws that, you know, the right to a balanced and healthful ecology. Say, for example, human rights go into the field of natural law. Okay, and physical law, something that you study through the sciences, through physical sciences, such as physics, such as chemistry. So this is the non-jural law. Okay? Ang ibig sabihin niyan, itong mga batas na ito is something na, okay, it's in the realm of the philosophist, it's in the realm of the physicist, okay? It has something to do with spirituality and religion. Okay, these are the set of rules that govern your lives. This is non-jural laws. And some of these laws you cannot enforce in your courts. Unlike when we talk about jural laws, okay? Jural laws, when we talk about jural laws, these laws talk about the laws that we have. These are laws that which are more or less tangible. Ito yung mga code natin, like for example, Constitution. Ito yung mga RAs or Republic Acts, Executive Orders. Ito yung mga administrative rules ng DOH to that effect. Ito yung jural laws. This is something that is codified, something that is man-made. Okay? So, but, you know, these two laws sometimes intertwine. Okay? They intertwine because all of these come from, you know, a divine being. Okay? Because we are all created in the likeness and image of a divine being. Okay? So, now, let's talk about another definition of law, which was defined in the case of Lapitan versus Philippine Charity Sweepstakes Office. Okay, which quotes heavily from the definition of St. Thomas of Aquinas and Sanchez Roman, a Spanish civilist. Law, this is the simple definition of law, okay, which we can apply, okay? Diba? Sabi nga ni Kim Chu, ano daw ba ang batas sa classroom? Kailan ba siya nagiging law? Okay. This is a rule of conduct, just and obligatory, formulated by a legitimate power for common good and observance and benefit. Okay. What are the common, okay, words? What are the magic words in this definition? Let's see. Okay. Of all the definitions of law, these are the things that you have to remember. These are the magic words. Okay, this is a reasonable ordinance. Ibig sabihin, it comes from reason. Okay, it is a rule which comes from reason. It is promulgated by a legitimate authority. Okay, there's a legitimate authority there. And para saan ba ang batas? Okay, it is for the common good and observance, and it is promulgated. Okay? Now, reasonable kasi hindi ka susunod sa isang batas na hindi naman reasonable, 'di ba? Okay? And there is when a law is unreasonable or it cannot be understood, meron tayong tinatawag na doctrine na void for vagueness doctrine. That statute or that rule becomes unconstitutional because even men of ordinary laymen cannot understand what that provision of law is, what that word in the law means. So you cannot follow something that is unreasonable. So it has to really be anchored in reason. Now, second, it must come from a legitimate authority. Okay, can a private individual impose a law to the public? No, definitely not. It must come from legitimate authority. And in the Philippines, okay, we are a democratic and Republican state. Ibig sabihin ng democracy, the power lies, okay, governance, okay, power, okay, is exercised by the people, for the people, okay? And through the people, okay? So, yan. Pero Republican tayo, so ibig sabihin representative, okay? So we wield power to a specific being or entity which to make our laws, which is the Congress, which has two houses, the Senate and the House of Representatives, diba? So anything na ipapatupad nila, we exercise our power or our legislative power through our representatives, which is the Congress. But you know, in the Constitution, we have still traces of direct democracy through initiative and referendum na tayo yung gagawa ng batas and we submit it to the people. Okay? So, ayan, legitimate authority. Okay? Now, let's go to the common good. Okay? Common good, ibig sabihin, lahat is covered by the law. The law of one is the law of everyone. Diba? Okay. So, yan. And it must be promulgated. Ibig sabihin, there is a requirement, okay, Tanyada versus Tuvera, that it has to be published. Kasi under the Civil Code, ignorance of the law excuses no one from compliance therefrom. So, magiging unfair itong batas na to. How can you comply if you do not know the law because the law was never published? Okay? So that is the word, that is the meaning of promulgated. It must be published first before it can be demanded to be observed by the people. Okay? So yan. And it has a social end, sabi ko nga, the common good, which is the law attempts to at least assimilate or reflect justice here on earth. Okay? So, all right. So what are the branches of law? Just a quick discussion of the branches of law. Okay, when we talk about branches of law, I'm referring to the jural laws. Okay, first let us discuss now. Okay, so two branches, substantive and the remedial aspect. Okay, substantive and remedial aspect. When we talk about substantive, this is where your rights are coming from, or where rights are being given to you. Okay, rights and privileges. When we talk about remedial law, this is the process by which you can protect, enforce your right, or redress a wrong that is done in violation of your right. Now, let's talk about the branch of substantive law. Okay, substantive law has two branches. All right, so you have the public, private. Okay, when we talk about the public, these talk about your political law. These talk about your international laws. So that is the relationship, okay, the administration of the affairs of the state, domestically and internationally. When we talk about private law, okay, this is the this talks about your relationship with one another. Okay, so civil law, okay, dyan papasok yung family, property, wills and succession, dyan papasok yung contracts. Okay, what about criminal law? Okay, it is a violation of the rules of the state, of the laws of the state. So this is where the state punishes you for violating public peace, public safety. Okay, diyan papasok yung mga murder, homicide, rape. Okay, so diyan, that's the aspect of a criminal law. Now, when we talk about mercantile law, okay, it's talk purely business. Okay, we talk about business here. Okay, yung mga how to set up a corporation, how to set up a partnership, kung wala ka pang partner, di ba? Okay, so yan, mercantile law. Okay, so yan, yan mga stocks, mga ganyan ang pinag-uusapan dyan. Now, when we talk about the remedial aspect of law, what do we mean by that? Okay, ito naman, okay, kung ang substantive law, mayroong mga karapatan na binabanggit or ibinibigay, okay, o mga pribilehiyo na ibinibigay ang ating state na pwede natin gawin. Okay, dito sa remedial law, pag merong na-violate dyan or merong kang gustong i-enforce na right, saan ka pupunta? Sa korte. Dahil sinasabi mo, Your Honor, binaboy niya po yung karapatan ko. Meron siyang obligasyon na respetuhin yung karapatan ko, pero binaboy niya po yung karapatan ko. In other words, okay, there is a right that was transgressed. Okay, so if it's in the matter of the civil law, okay, if it's a civil right, like for example, meron kang kapitbahay, umutang sa'yo, tapos ayaw ka na niyang bayaran. Okay, may obligasyon ba siya na bayaran ka? Yes. Okay, so paano mo kokolektahin ngayon? Pwede bang pumunta ka sa bahay niya tapos kunin mo yung TV niya sa loob? Yun na lang yung kabayaran? Yes or no? No, because that is, okay, less grave coercion. Okay? So, yon. Okay? Now, when we talk about that, we go to the court. We file a case of sum of collection of money in court. Okay? Meron is squatter. Okay, sorry for the word, squatter. Okay, or informal settlers, to be politically correct. May informal settler, pwede mo ba siya sa ilupa mo, sa probinsya, pwede mo ba siyang puntahan na lang doon at takutin na umalis siya doon at palayasin siya, ora-orada? Hindi po pwede yon. Meron po tayo ang tinatawag na unlawful detainer case wherein we have to file in court para paalisin yun. Or dito sa urban, dito sa, may mga lessees, may mga nagpaparenta ng mga rooms or apartment, tapos hindi nagbabayad yung pwede niya bang paalisin basta-basta? Hindi. May proseso yan. Okay? Pag hindi siya nakaalis doon, hindi siya makapagbayad, hindi mo siya pwedeng paalisin agad. Okay? There is a process to it. Okay, so that's your civil procedure. Now, someone, okay, stabbed a person, okay? O yung kapitbahay mo, pinagchichismisan ka, ganyan. Okay, gusto mong kasuhan ng libel. Okay, so what do? You file a criminal case. Diba? So that is criminal case. Okay, someone was raped, someone was murdered. Okay, so criminal case, and that is governed by criminal procedure. What about this special proceeding? What is this? Okay, special proceeding is procedure in court wherein you determine a right, okay, of a person, the status of a person. Okay, yung mga gustong mga hiwalayang moments dyan, yung mga annulment, that is an example of a special proceeding. Okay, pinapa-dissolve mo yung marriage mo, yung mga pa-change of name, okay, settlement of estate, o yan, may mga namatay, okay, may last will and testament, ipapaprobate mo, special proceedings yan. And then what naman, how do you prove your claim? Because the court will not grant your claim without any evidence or any factual basis for your claim. So what is that? It's the rule of evidence, which is defined as a means, okay, as in a judicial proceeding to determine the truth as a matter of fact. Okay, so may mga rules of evidence dyan. So these are the different branches of law. Ang dami nila, di ba? Jural laws pa lang. Mas mababaliw kayo pag diniscuss natin ang natural law. But I will not be discussing natural law because that will be in the realm of the next, okay? I hope you stay tuned next week, no? Kasi there is another speaker who will discuss to you the nature of the divine and the natural laws, okay, or your non-jural laws. But my focus here is the jural law. Okay, so, there is a hierarchy of jural laws, which we call, and many states accept this hierarchy, including our country. All right, so the hierarchy of laws, okay. So sa pinakataas is your constitution, okay? Say constitution, okay. Another, okay, below your constitution is your statutes and legislations. Within the same, okay, statutes and legislations are, by the way, these are laws or pieces of law which is promulgated by the Congress, okay? Yan yung mga hindi sila bill because a bill is not yet a law. Okay, pinag-uusapan pa lang pag sinabing bill. But when it becomes a law, it becomes a Republic Act. Okay, we call our statutes Republic Act. Okay, so these are promulgated by Congress. Okay, so when we talk about statutes, okay, ito yung ginagawa ng ating Kongreso, ng mga batas. Okay, and you will know when it becomes a law when it's already a Republic Act. Okay, now, paano yung mga presidential decrees? Presidential decrees are no longer considered as statutes and legislation because that is the realm of the what? Okay, president, which do not have legislative power here in the Philippines because we have the doctrine of separation of powers. Okay, presidential acts during the time of President Marcos are considered laws pa rin naman hanggang ngayon. Executive orders during the time of President Cory Aquino is also considered as statutes at this point in time. Why? Because at that point in time, the president has the power to legislate. But now, wala ng power ang president to legislate. All right? So, ano naman ang mga treaties and international obligations? Treaties and international obligations are not laws which are created by the legislature. Okay? Why? Because these treaties and legislature are created between a state and a state. Okay? A state and other states, a state and an international body, like for example, the United Nations, the International Labor Relations. Okay, to that effect, these treaties and international obligations also have the same level in terms of hierarchy, are in the same level in terms of hierarchy when we talk about hierarchy of laws. Okay, now decisions of the Supreme Court are not laws, but they are, okay, interpreted. Okay, they have the effect of law because they interpret the provisions of law. Okay, the decisions of the Supreme Court, which we call as your case law or jurisprudence. They are not laws, but they have the same binding effect of laws because they are interpretation of law. Okay, now, ang susunod naman is implementing rules and regulation. Mas mababang level, implementing rules and regulation because these only implement the statutes above, okay? Itong mga statutes na to and or the legislations. They are only implementing these rules and they cannot go beyond what is given by the rule. Kaya maraming mga by the law, okay? Otherwise, these statutes or these implementing rules and regulations will be declared void because of unconstitutionality. And then we have now your rules of procedure on how to implement the laws, especially when it comes to the code of conduct, etc., or enforcing it. Okay, how do you file a case in court or in the National Labor Relations Commission or in the PRC? Those are governed by these procedure. Yung nasa baba. All right. So moving forward, okay, let's discuss the hierarchy of law. Okay, so constitution. All right. So meron tayong tinatawag na doctrine of constitutional supremacy. And what does this doctrine mean? Okay. If a law or contract violates any norm of constitution that the law or contract, whether promulgated by the legislative or by the executive branch or entered into by the private persons for private purposes, is null and void and without any force and effect. Thus, the Constitution is the fundamental, paramount, and supreme law. That's what I'm saying. Anything that goes against the Constitution is considered, okay, unconstitutional. So the Constitution is deemed written in every statute and contract. So if it violates the Constitution, it will be null and void. All right. So moving forward. All right. Now, in the Constitution, okay, ayan, all right. So the Constitution, ito yung preamble natin, no? We, the sovereign Filipino people, okay. We, ang linaw nakalagay, we, tayo, okay. So, ibig sabihin nito, this is the source of power, okay, that the Congress have in legislating. It's our act because we are the Filipino people who promulgate and ordained and promulgate this Constitution. Just a trivia. Okay, when I was in first year in law school, my professor asked me, who is now the Supreme Court Justice, who is now a Supreme Court, an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court, Justice Javier asked me, Mr. Humiwat, what makes the Philippine Constitution different from all other constitutions in the world? So, syempre, tayo ako. So, I said very confidently, sabi ko, Filipino, ma'am. Okay. That's brilliant. Okay, brilliant. Kasi talaga naman, tayo lang naman ang may Filipino sa Constitution. Okay? Diba? Okay, but the real answer there, but the correct answer there is, in all the Constitution, okay, I want you to look at the word, okay, that I'm pointing at. Okay, so it's, kaya naman si Chris Aquino, love, love, love. Okay, so love, it's the only constitution which has the word love in all of the world, because they wanted to encapsulate, according to Father Bernas, who is one of the framers of the Constitution, they want to encapsulate, okay, the love that the Filipinos showed during the EDSA revolution, the love for the country and the countrymen. Okay, that we Filipinos love our country so much, and we love each other, that we will do whatever it is to protect, even to revolt in the streets, okay, and risk our safety to protect our rights, our democracy, our freedom. Kaya nilagay nila yung love na yan. So that makes our constitution different from all the constitutions in the world. Now let's go into treaties and international obligations. Now, the Section 2 of your Philippine Constitution says, the Philippines adopts generally accepted principle of international law as part of the laws of the land, and adheres to the policy of peace, equality, justice, freedom, cooperation, and amity with nations. Ano ba yung amity? Okay, amity means friendship or friendliness, or, you know, camaraderie. Okay, now this is the doctrine of incorporation, which means our international laws, okay, when we accept, okay, an international law, the principles of international law, like when we sign a treaty, that now becomes, okay, a part of our law. And what are examples of treaty? Okay, what is a treaty? An international agreement concluded between states in written form and governed by international law, whether embodied in a single instrument or in two or more related instruments, and whether it's whatever its particular designation. Okay, that's according to the Article 2 of the Vienna Convention on the Law of Treaty, which is cited in the case of Bayan Muna versus Romulo, okay, a 2011 case. It is an agreement between nations or states, okay. All right. So, ayan, may agreement sila President Duterte at saka si Xi Jinping, okay? Whatever that agreement is, sa kanila na yon. Okay? We would only know in time, okay? Because of the qualified political agency doctrine. Okay, and the privileged communication doctrine. And anyway, what are the treaties that affect, ayan na, paano ba naapektuhan ng treaty ang nursing practice? All right, so you have your ILO Nursing Personnel Convention, which requires the Philippines, okay, and which we accepted as a nation to observe. Okay, anong meron dito sa ISO Personnel Convention? Number 149. It talks about the rights, the social and labor rights, okay, of nurses. Ano ba dapat ang standard when it comes to protecting the rights of Filipino nurses here and abroad? Okay, so yan. And there is a recommendation number 157, which goes into the details kung paano i-implement ng isang bansa ang isang makatarungan na sistema, okay, when it comes to nursing policies, okay, when it deals with the regulation of the nursing profession. Okay, now let's go into the statutes and legislations. Okay, when we talk about statutes and legislations, a statute is an act, okay, of legislature declaring or commanding or prohibiting something, okay? A particular law enacted and established by the will of the legislative department, okay, which is a reflection of the will of the people, okay? So, ayan, kung makikita ninyo, okay, during the pandemic, hindi naman po tumigil ang ating mga mambabatas na gumawa ng mga batas. Ang daming, di ba? Nagkaroon ng ano, 'di ba? Bayanihan Act, okay? There are several laws which were enacted, okay? Ngayon nga, they are busy, okay? They are busy making laws, or they are busy making um trying to, you know, push the amendment of the Constitution or charter change, 'di ba? All right. So, now, what law affects nursing? Syempre, we have your Philippine Nursing Act of 2002 or your Republic Act number 9173. All right. So, what is the scope of nursing practice? Okay, it talks about the scope of the nursing practice, some salient points. Okay, so we have, well, nursing practice includes direct nursing care. You have also linkages for community. You have teaching in nursing, nursing and health human resource. So ito yung scope of nursing practice. Now, let's discuss independent nursing practice. Okay, so this talks about the promotion and prevention of illnesses, and your collaborative nursing practice, which talks about the curative, preventive, rehabilitative aspects of healthcare, and the alleviation of suffering, and assisting a person to a peaceful death. You know what? Okay, I would really want to emphasize on the word independent nursing practice. The nursing practice has, you know, many subspecialties then, okay? And I wish that one day, you know, my vision for nursing in the Philippines is, you know, we recognize independent nursing practice. Yung magkakaroon tayo mga advanced practice nurses that we can have our own practice without any interventions or any orders from the doctor, but we will be able to render independent care, okay? And that is an advocacy that I wish that you join me. Na sana magkaroon tayo ng mga mga independent nursing practitioners dito sa Pilipinas. And for me, gusto kong simulan ng movement ng forensic nursing because I teach legal medicine in law school and I really want, okay? Kasi napansin ko parang laging nasa forefront are the doctors, etc. But right now, I haven't heard of any forensic nurse. And I hope to meet one day. But if there's still not one, let me be the first. Okay? The Board of Nursing, of course, and their powers. You have your executive powers, you have your quasi-legislative powers, because under the nursing law, they are given the powers, okay, to make policies, okay, to implementing Republic Act 9173 or your nursing law. Okay? So, quasi-legislative powers, ito yung power to make rules and regulation, yun, mga IRR. And you have your quasi-judicial powers, which is the power to hear and decide cases, especially those administrative cases, kagaya ng mga revocation of license, ganyan. Okay, so you have your executive power, okay, which is the power to implement or carry out the policies set out in the law or statute. You have your quasi-legislative power or the power to adopt rules, regulations intended to better carry out the policy, the function. This is the rule-making function, okay? So the quasi-judicial function is your quasi-judicial function is the function to hear and decide on cases and the performance of duty and to enforce its decision according to the law. And lastly, your incidental powers, okay, or what we call as your residual powers, the authority to effectively carry out the above expressed powers. Okay, so yun yung mga powers ng Board of Nursing. Ayan, example, promulgation of the Code of Ethics. All right, so you have your incidental powers, which talks about enabling, directing, dispensing, and summary powers. Okay, so sa enabling power, example, to conduct licensure. Okay, ayan, yung recognizing nursing specialty organizations. All right. Directing, okay, monitor and enforce quality standards of nursing practice in the Philippines. Now, examining prescribed facilities. So, yan. Para ma-recommend nila yung mga non-compliant, ipasara or ng CHED. So, or bigyan ng sanctions ng CHED. Now, the dispensing powers, like for example, ito, sa issuance and revocation of license certificates and replacement of law certificates. Now, yan, dispensa, humingi ng dispensa. So, parang pinapatawad ka nila. Okay, so 4 years after that, the decision, okay, of ano, you are given 4 years, okay, and this is done so by reason of equity and justice, okay, as long as within that 4 years, natapos mo yung 4 years na period na bar ka para mag-practice ng nursing, nawala or na-cure or the correction the correct na yung ground, okay, which was used to revoke your licenses, okay, then you have to apply again and pay fees, okay, wala naman sinabing kailangan mong mag-exam ulit, i-reinstate lang yung license mo, okay, or re-reissue yung certificate of registration. All right, now for the examining power, okay yan, conduct examinations, okay, hearings, investigations, issue subpoena ad testificandum, duces tecum, okay, production of documents, and the contempt powers of the Board of Nursing, okay, the contempt powers, okay, yan. All right, now summary, yan, dyan papasok ang suspension or revocation of licenses, okay. Okay, so yun. And yan. Now, let's talk about examination and registration. Ayan. So there are 3 ways: registration by licensure examination, practice through special temporary permits, and registration by reciprocity. Okay? Alright. So, sino ba yung may mga special and temporary permits? Yung mga internationally well-known experts, either for fee or for a free. Now, yung mga nagme-medical mission, provided that the medical mission is free and conducted in a particular hospital or center or clinic. And lastly, your exchange professors who are employed by schools, colleges of nursing. Okay? So, yan. All right? So, I think you know these na by heart. So, I'll skip on. Yan. Sino ba ang mga hindi pwedeng mag-register? Yung mga taong convicted of final judgment, ha? Involving moral turpitude, okay? Immoral and dishonorable conduct. And also of yung mga declared by a competent court of having unsound mind, okay? O may diferensya sa utak, okay? Now, what are the grounds for revocation? Again, all right. So, conviction by final judgment of any criminal offense involving moral turpitude. Those who are guilty of immoral and dishonorable conduct. Okay, immoral and dishonorable conduct. And of course, those who are of unsound mind. They are grounds for non-registration. But these requirements are continuing. Ibig sabihin, even if you are already a registered nurse, there is a possibility that your license or your certificate of registration will be revoked because you are convicted by a final judgment of any criminal offense involving moral turpitude. Okay, or if you are guilty of immoral or dishonorable conduct, you are of unsound mind. Okay, and then the fourth one, for as a ground for for revocation of your certificate of registration, is your unprofessional and unethical conduct, gross incompetence and ignorance, malpractice, fraud, deceit, false statements in obtaining your certificate of registration, professional license, or special temporary permit, violations of the Republic Act 9173 and its implementing rules and regulations, the Code of Ethics, okay, and the policies of the board, and the conditions and limitations of your certificate of registration, professional license, and your special or temporary permit. And also, when you are suspended already and you still practice your profession, that is a ground for the permanent revocation of your certificate of registration. Okay? So, ayan, there are penal provisions, okay, under Republic Act 9173, which can be meted out with a penalty of imprisonment for 1 to 6 years, okay, or if not imprisonment, a fine of 50,000 pesos, okay? 50,000 pesos, not lower than 50,000 pesos, but not more than 100,000 pesos, okay? So, Ayan, ito yung mga practicing nursing without your license, okay, or without certificate of registration, using the certificate of registration of another, using an invalid or expired or canceled certificate of registration, false evidence to obtain certificate of registration, falsely possessing or advertising yourself as a registered nurse without the necessary qualifications. Diba? Falsely appending BSN or RN. Or when you assist someone to perform all the following acts, you're abetting, okay, the illegal practice of nursing. Okay? So lahat ng mga nasa taas, 1 to 6 are considered as illegal practice of nursing. Now, undertaking service in educational programs, okay, without a permit or clearance from the BON. Okay, now this is penalty. Okay, ito, these champions are right. Okay, the minimum base pay or incentive for nurses at the at the entry level is salary grade 15. This is a very much contested provision, okay? And I will tell you why in a very short while. And also violation of other provisions of RA 9173. So these are the grounds for you to be either penalized by imprisonment of 1 to 6 years or be meted out with a fine of 50,000 pesos to 100,000 pesos. And these are just administrative liabilities. Wala pa tayo dyan sa mga criminal aspects ng ano ha. Like for example, if a nurse committed homicide, intentional abortion, okay? Infanticide, okay? So these are still different, okay? Now, and theft also. Uso yan. There's a case that I will be giving you later. Now, the next, di ba sabi natin magka-level sa hierarchy and judicial decisions interpreting the provisions of law, okay? Judicial decisions by the Supreme Court, okay? Or what we call now as jurisprudence or the application of the law or the interpretation of the law. Okay, so judicial decisions, okay? Now, judicial decisions applying, interpreting the laws or the Constitution shall form part of the legal system of the Philippines. That's according to Article 8 of the Civil Code. All right? So, now, this is the doctrine which we call stare decisis, okay? The principle of stare decisis enjoins adherence of lower courts to the doctrinal rules established by the Supreme Court in its final decision. So, that's the doctrine of stare decisis. So, ibig sabihin, yung mga precedents na tinatawag natin, yung mga desisyon ng Supreme Court, parang may force and effect sila ng batas dahil these are followed by and applied by lower courts, okay, in cases which are applicable. All right. So, now, mas mababa ngayon sa judicial decisions sa law is the implementing rules and regulations. Diyan papasok na, okay. Ito yung tinatawag natin delegation of legislative power, okay. So, minsan kasi sa sobrang, given the volume and variety of interactions involving members of today's society, it is doubtful that the legislature can promulgate laws dealing with the minutiae aspects of everyday life. Hence, it needs to delegate to administrative bodies such as the DOH as the principal agencies tasked to execute laws with respect to special fields like nursing or health. Okay, so the authority to promulgate rules and regulations to implement a given statute and effectuate its policies. Okay, so yan ang tinatawag nating doctrine of delegation of legislative power. Okay, so the president has, under the administrative code, some, okay, ordinance power, but these are not statutes or laws in effect, but these are binding, okay, and have the force of law. Why? Because an executive order is a rule, okay, at ito yung mga, di ba, dami natin narinig, executive order, administrative order, proclamation, memorandum order, memorandum circular, general or special orders. So, ang dami-dami. But what are these about? Executive orders. These are rules implementing, okay? These are rather permanent and general and implements, okay? Execution of constitutional or statutory powers. Now you have your administrative order, which deals with particular aspect of government operations in pursuance of the president's duties and as administrative head. Proclamations, ito yung mga fixing a date or declaring a status. O, di ba? Pag may presidential proclamation which declared that we are in a state of health emergency. So, yan. Okay? Or a condition of public moment. Hindi sila batas, but these talk about the status or a condition. Okay? Or an existence in which an operation of a specific law or regulation is made. O kailan ba like the oil deregulation law, kailan ba magtataas at magbababa? Okay. So kailan ba pwedeng mag-declare si president ng community quarantine? So yung mga yan, papasok yan sa presidential proclamation. Now, memorandum circular, administrative detail or subordinate or temporary interest which concern particular officers. So this is more of a communication between the president and other agencies, okay? Now, under the executive department. Now, memorandum circular, this is an internal administration, okay? Which the president desires to bring the attention to all or some of the departments or agency. And when we talk about the military, as the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of the Philippines, this is the president telling them to, mobilize. So he does so, okay, in general or special orders. Okay, so this is the ordinance power, which is the rule, okay, which is still part of implementation dahil hindi ka pwedeng lumampas sa statute. So it's almost like an implementing rule or regulation. So that's ordinance power of the president. Now, moving forward, let's apply kung anong natutunan natin and how did these principles change the course of nursing? How did this principle vindicate our profession? Okay. Ang NARS Party List versus Executive Secretary, which was decided in October 8, 2019. Okay. So, in ang NARS Party List versus Executive Secretary, ito yung gist. Okay. There is a law, which is Section 32 of Republic Act number 9173, which mandates the provision of salary grade 15 for public health nurses, which in the entry level, this is the law. Now, in sometime around 2002, 2003, 2004, somewhere within those years, 2004, if I'm not mistaken, the Congress issued Joint Resolution number 4, which authorized the President to modify the compensation and the position classification system. Ito yung SALN3 natin. Okay? SSL3. Okay. What is that SSL3 about? Okay? Ano yung provision na very contentious? It repealed RA 9173. Okay. Ano yung sinabi niya when it comes to, simply put, sinasabi niya, yung salary grade 15 na yan na sinasabi ng RA 9173, we are abrogating that. We are abandoning that. And we are authorizing the President now to classify the position, okay, of the salary, not the position, but the salaries of nurses. Okay, kasamang nurses dyan. So in other words, anong ginawa ni President? Okay, complying with the law, anong ginawa ni President? Ayan, Executive Order number 891. Which modified the salary grade and classification of nurse. Okay, parang tinaas natin from salary grade 10 because from 1991, salary grade 10 lang ang nurse. Okay? Now, tinaas daw. Okay, to give niloloko tayo eh, di ba? Sabi ng RA 9173, salary grade 15. Here comes now a law, okay, our a joint order, joint resolution, which authorizes the president, and the president enacted executive order number 891, which seemingly increased salary grade from salary grade 10 to salary grade 11. Okay. So, ano ngayon ang inimplement ng DBM? For quite a while, ipinaglalaban natin yan, diba? For quite a while, ipinaglalaban natin na dapat salary grade 15. But the DBM said, okay, salary grade 11 lang. Kasi pag tinaas natin ng salary grade 15, the other professions, magsaselos yung mga yan. And there will be distortions. And that is the line of the DBM for various administrations. I know because I sat in the Senate. And that is the explanation of the DBM why, according to them, they cannot implement salary grade 15. Oh. So, nag-file ng kaso sa Supreme Court. Ang issue dito, whether or not Joint Resolution number 4 and Executive Order number 891, 811 pala dapat yun. I'm very sorry for the typographical error. Amended Section 32 of RA 9173. Pwede ba ang joint resolution na i-amend ang isang statute? Yes or no? Sabi ng Supreme Court, it's only a resolution. JR number 4 did not amend Section 32 of 9173. Okay? EO 811 is a mere presidential issuance and cannot amend or repeal the law. Why? Because under Section 26, paragraph 2, Article 6 of the Constitution, which talks about the legislative power, only a bill can be enacted into law after following certain requirements. Okay? Prescribed under the Constitution. A joint resolution is not, okay, a bill. And its passage does not enact the joint resolution into a law. Okay. Maliwanag, hindi daw bill ang joint resolution, but it's a mere resolution and cannot be enacted to law, even if it follows the requirements expressly prescribed by the Constitution for enacting a bill into law. Moreover, ito na, about Executive Order number 811. 811, EO 811, not being a law, cannot also amend or repeal Section 32 of RA 9173. There can be no dispute whatsoever that Executive Order number 811, a mere presidential issuance, cannot amend or repeal a prior law. So in this case, nanalo ang mga nurses. Okay? But the next issue, looking into the realities of it, can the DOH and the DBM be compelled to implement salary grade 15 as base pay for the entry-level nurses? Can they be compelled? Sabi ng Supreme Court, they cannot be compelled because, okay, despite the continued existence and validity of Section 32 of RA number 9173, the Supreme Court cannot grant petitioner's prayer to compel respondents to implement Section 32 of RA 9173, an implementation that requires the appropriation of funds or public funds through a law. The power of the purse belongs exclusively to the Congress under Section 24 and 25 of Article 6 of the 1987 Constitution. So, the Supreme Court cannot say, hoy, Congress, okay, hoy, DBM, mag-appropriate ka ng pera pang pasweldo para sa mga nurses na dapat salary grade 15 sila. The Supreme Court cannot do that out of the doctrine of separation of powers. But the Supreme Court said, well, ito lang magagawa namin for now, but we suggest, if we can, that, you know, you go to your Congress, okay? You go to the legislature, you lobby there so that, you know, your voice will be heard in the legislature, okay? Sadly, you know, we don't have any representations now as a, you know, a nursing group because ang nurse party list was, I think, not no longer accredited by the COMELEC. So we don't have any nursing groups fielded in the I know. So I think uh, as part of your code of ethics, nurses should participate in the code of ethics. Let me just show you the provision in the code of ethics, no? Na sinasabi niya, okay, nursing and the people, okay? Nursing and the profession, nurses should be active, okay, or participate in the legislative process, okay? So, ayun, okay? So, just give me a few minutes to go over the code of ethics as you will see, all right? So, ayan, okay? The code of ethics, kaya ko siya dinidiscuss because this is already considered a codification of the ethical principles that we have in nursing. This is a code kasi usually ethics, hindi naman yan enforceable in courts or any administrative agency unless there is a law or at least a rule which it can be anchored on. So the rulemaking power that was given to the Board of Nursing included specifically to create a code of ethics for registered nurses. And the code of ethics for registered nurses is embodied in BON Resolution 220 series of 2004, okay, which talks about, okay, the role of nursing, okay? Kasi sinabi niya dito, okay, nurses and the people, nurses and the practice, okay, as well as the environment and the society. What is the relationship between nurses and co-workers who are co-nurses or other allied healthcare professions? And also, what is our responsibility as nurses in uplifting and upholding this noble profession? So briefly, okay, ayan, Article 1 of or the preamble of your Code of Ethics talk about health as a fundamental right. And this is where we come from. This is our point of departure because what we render is health. So we have the duty to preserve health, to promote health, and if we cannot do this, at least give a person a dignified and peaceful death. Now, we have to understand that as human beings, we are diverse in nature. We have various political, cultural, socioeconomic, and religious background. So we have to respect each other when it comes to, back of these backgrounds, no? And then respect for our client, respect and confidence, okay? So when we respect the rights of our clientele, our colleagues, and the people that we work with or we go around with, the people in our communities, we are also given, okay, the highest, okay, goal is the respect and confidence from clientele, colleagues, co-workers, and members of the community. So that's what we strive for, okay, that respect, all right. So, again, okay, so Article 2, the registered nurse and I'm sorry for that. Okay. Okay, so registered nurses and the, okay. Right. So we have to respect, okay, values, customs, and spiritual beliefs, individual freedoms, and make rational and unconstrained decisions. We have to respect confidentiality of personal information, okay? And the guidelines, okay, is considered individuality and totality of patients, okay? So these are nurses and the patients. Consider culture and values, applications, and like, for example, the diet and treatment, diba? Like, for example, in the diet, okay, if your client is practices Islam, you don't give him pork, diba? Okay. Or when your client is a Jehovah's Witness, okay, you don't impose blood transfusion, diba? So yun, kanya-kanyang beliefs. We have to respect the beliefs of our client. Uphold their rights as individuals, and of course, the paramount interest is their safety and welfare. Okay, now, how important is the respect of belief, right? Just imagine this. Okay, if someone forces you to do something which is against your belief, okay, would you still do that thing? And this is the situation which was imposed by the RH law. Okay, now a law was passed requiring all nurses, say for example, all nurses, okay, but in reality, all healthcare workers to promote the use of contraceptives to their clients, regardless of their personal beliefs on the use of contraceptive. The law provides that if a nurse's personal belief is against the use and prescription of contraceptives, okay, she should immediately refer such client to another accessible healthcare provider. So if you do not believe in administering contraceptives, what you can do is to refer a person to another healthcare provider. Okay? In your conscience, you cannot, because it's circumventing what you are against for. Okay? So otherwise, you will incur criminal liability for violating this duty to refer. Ayaw mo nga, hindi ka nga naniniwala sa ganun. Bakit? Diba? So, okay. In Imvong versus Ochoa, this was the situation and this was the issue. Ang sinasabi dito, okay, the obligation to refer imposed by the RH law violates the religious belief and conviction of conscientious objector. What is a conscientious objector? An individual who has claimed the right to refuse to perform military service, because originally this was okay, military service, yung mga, 'di ba, during the war, kasi pinipilit ang mga males, okay, who are of age already to join the military service, but you know, they refuse to do so because they do not believe in war but in the religion of peace. Okay, yan, example, si Muhammad Ali, he didn't go to war on the basis that he is a conscientious objector, okay? And in the Philippines, yung mga members ng Jehovah's Witnesses which do not join the flag salute, okay? Or do not salute to the flag because that is idolatry according to their religion, okay? There were some students who were expelled for that because of the heraldic code or the flag law. And the Supreme Court you know, recognize their rights as conscientious objectors as long as they did not disrupt the flag ceremony. So, yun. Okay? So, basta wala kang natatamaan na tao. But here, okay, as conscientious objector, dito, binalance sa Supreme Court is the religious freedom of health providers as well as the interest of the state when it comes to reproductive health products and services, the provision of or access to health products and services. So, alin ang mas matimbang dito? Of course, you cannot, you know, you cannot enforce, okay, this to a person who would violate the conscience. So, sabi ng this violates religious freedom. Sabi ng Supreme Court, once the medical practitioner, against his will, refers a patient seeking information on modern reproductive health products, services, procedures, and methods, his conscience is immediately burdened as he has been compelled to perform an act against his belief. But this is not absolute. If that contraceptive is a matter of life and death, say for example, in instances when there is a matter of life and death situation, you have to refer. Okay? Yun lang ang exception dyan. Because again, safety first. Okay? Safety of the patient first. Okay, Article 3. Okay. Yan. We go into the RNs and their practice. Okay, so inviolability, okay, so inviolability of human right, quality and excellence, documentation of actions and outcomes, okay, nurses should be patient advocates, and nurses should uphold the best interest of all. Again, we go into these ethical principles, you know. So again, the first thing life is inviolable. Okay, so we have to practice the optimum standard of safe nursing practice. Okay, and we minimize occurrences of ineffective and unlawful nursing practice. And how do we do that? By holding ourselves to quality and excellence, okay? By knowing the scope of nursing practice, by enhancing or developing your competence in knowledge, skill, and attitudes. And if you are already an administrator, a nurse administrator, yung mga nurse administrators natin dyan, I hope you're listening. You have to promote an environment in your settings, okay, which is favorable for growth and development. Like for example, mga in-house trainings, you send people to train, okay, your people to enhance their skills and develop their specialties. And also, there is the creation here and participation of acknowledging and recognizing Nursing Specialty Certification Council. Okay, now, documentation and actions and outcomes is the hallmark of accountability, sabi ng Code of Ethics. Why? Because the patient records shall be, it shows that you did something to your patient and you have to report it. The patient's record shall be available only if they are to be issued to those who are professionally and directly involved in their care and when they are required by law. So that's balancing now your confidentiality rule and accessibility to the patient's documents. Why? Because that is the record of their care. Okay, now, as patient's advocate, syempre, you have to respect the patient's Bill of Rights. You have to always go back to the principle of informed consent. Ang pinaka-importante dyan is not getting the consent, but knowing that, okay, the patient knows what he is doing. Okay, so ang dami kong marami, siguro ako yung worst na magiging pasyente ng isang nurse sa hospital. But I think those people who took care of me, but, there was a time that I went ballistics because I have a relative who had to undergo an operation. And I asked that relative if the nurse have asked, okay, kasi pumirma na siya sa consent and I wasn't there. And I asked if the doctor was there to explain and I was asking if what the doctor said. And the doctors haven't been in the room, haven't been in a bedside, but the consent was already signed. Now, I went to the nurse's station and confronted the nurse. Why? Because they and siguro haphazardly just took the signature without even informing, okay? I will not mention already the name of the hospital, but that's very important. Why? Because you have to know, you have to determine and assess whether or not the client knows what is the consequence of the procedure that will be done against him or her. There are instances where you can be held liable for battery and assault, okay? Or, mutilation, lalo na kapag reproductive organs ang pinag-usapan natin. Or physical or serious physical injuries because of the loss of limb and, of life, or even murder or homicide or death, because you have failed, okay, to secure the consent of a person, okay, of the patient before the proceeding, okay? So, yan, uphold when there is a conflict between rights of the patient, okay, you have to uphold, and the decision of the doctor, you have to uphold, okay, the rights of the patient, okay? Now, and also, we have to look out for the best interest of all by conforming with the laws, the rules, regulation, and measures, generally acceptable principles of moral conduct and proper decorum. And also, we should not falsely advertise or have referral fees and abuse our relationship, okay? Abuse the relationship with our clients. Say, for example, yung pinapapunta tayo, pag private duty nurses kayo, ganyan, okay? Pupunta kayo sa bahay, or the client allows you to access personal information or his personal stuff. So, you can read between the lines what that means, okay? So, yan. Kagaya nito, in St. Luke's Medical Hospital versus Sanchez. At the end of the shift, a staff nurse was subjected subjected to standard inspection procedure by the security personnel. Now, lo and behold, the security personnel saw in her bag some syringes, drugs, and medicines. Okay, so may butika sa loob ng bag ni Madam. Okay? Alright, so nag-uwi siya ng mga gamot, ng mga siringhilya, at mga kung ano-ano pa. Okay, may sari-sari store siguro si Madam, no? Okay, so, alright, ang depensa ng nurse, okay, inadvertence, kasi ay, nailagay ko sa bag kasi ginagamit ko yan pag pumunta ako sa bedside. Nakalimutan ko sigurong ibalik sa nurse's station. Lang toxic ko. Okay. Now, sabi ng ang depensa ng nurse dito, hindi naman kayo kasi ang nangyari dito, tinanggal siya sa trabaho. Okay? Because of, because they saw it as dishonesty on her part, and that is a serious misconduct according to the personnel code of St. Luke's. So, sabi niya, hindi naman kayo nag-file ng criminal charges against me, wala naman kayo napatunayan. So, bakit nyo ko tatanggalin? Okay. So, admission unassisted by a counsel dahil sa nangyari dito, the nurse, when she was accosted, sumulat siya ng incident report. IR. Okay. And ano naman ang laman ng kanyang IR? Okay. So, yan. Okay, sabi ng Supreme Court, not an excuse. All of you said were not excuses. Okay, kasi sabi niya sa IR, kung babasahin ninyo yung IR niya, okay? Yan, dyan na lang tayo sa taos puso po akong humihingi ng tawad sa aking pagkakasala. Alam ko po na ako ay nagkamali, okay? Hindi ko po dapat dinala yung mga gamit ng hospital. There's already an admission, but it's uncounseled. But it's okay, sabi ng Supreme Court, kasi hindi naman kailangan ng abogado talaga when we are observing due process. Okay, when it comes to administrative due process with regard to employee relations. But if the nurse wants to have, pwede, pero late niya na kasing ginawa na kumuha siya ng abogado eh. Okay, umamin na siya eh. Okay, sinabi niya, inaamin ko na ako'y naging madamot, pasuway at makasalanan. Inuna ko ang comfort ko kaysa gumawa ng tama. Okay. So there was already an admission on her part na talagang kinuha niya yung gamit. And in this case, the Supreme Court, pero nag-backtrack siya after a while. After niyang kumonsulta ng abogado siguro. Sumulat siya ng incident report addendum. Sabi niya the question items came from the medication drawers. Ayan, so nakita mo yung inconsistency. So nagsisinungaling talaga siya. Napakasinungaling ng nurse na to. Okay. Questioned items came from the medication of drawer. Sabi niya, sa una, kalimutan niya lang, 'di ba? Na kasi 'di ba, usually may mga bag, mga belt bags, ganyan, tapos 'di ba, pupunta ka sa patient side, doon mo kukunin yung So, 'di ba? Okay, nakalimutan niya daw tanggalin yung syringe doon, etc. Ngayon sinasabi niya, galing to sa mga pasyente. Lalo siyang nadiin dyan. That is already considered as theft. Kasi hindi mo naman pag-aari yun, galing pala sa pasyente. And even if galing sa stock room yan, hindi mo pa rin pag-aari yan. Pag-aari ng hospital yan, diba? Okay. Tapos, nanlaglag pa siya ng kasama niya. Similarly practiced by other staff members. Okay. And use in immediate process of replenishment of stocks, whatever. Kung ano na excuse niya. O sabi ng Supreme Court, okay, ang issue dito, whether the nurse should be dismissed from service, ang sabi ng Supreme Court, yes. She has the duty to obey all reasonable rules, orders, instructions of the employer, and willful intentional disobedience thereto as a general rule justifies termination of the contract of service and the dismissal of the employee. Okay? Yan. Ang lesson dito, as nurses, we are only stewards. Okay? Ng mga gamit sa hospital. Okay? And also, hindi atin yan. So, yung mga nag-uuwi ng mga bote ng mga used na dexamethasone, utang na loob. Yung hindi pala yung caps pala, utang na loob. Kahit tapon nyo na yun. Okay? So, okay, lessons learned, stewards. Okay? So, ingatan natin. Okay? Now, okay? So, yun. All right. Was there a ground? Yes. It is apt to clarify that St. Luke's Medical Center cannot be faulted in construing the taking of questioned items as an act of dishonesty, particularly as theft, pilferage, or attempt in any form or manner, considering that the intent to gain may be reasonably presumed from the furtive, okay, taking of useful property appertaining to another. So, yon, may ground under the labor code. Right? Ayan. RNs and coworkers, again, we have to remember to be in solidarity with one another, and it reminds us of our collegial and collaborative relationship. While we have to, in other words, hindi kalag, makisama tayo. But sabi ng Code of Ethics, still maintain your identity. Don't lose yourself in a sea of people. Don't lose your identity because gusto mong makisama. Because once you do that, your ethical values may be compromised, okay? So, conform with acceptable group activities. The keyword there is acceptable group activities, okay? Contribute to professional growth also. Actively participate in professional organizations. Not to act in any manner prejudicial to other professions, and also the respect for the rights of your co-workers. Okay, and how do you do that? Okay, let's go to the specific. Okay, honor and safeguard the reputation and dignity of the members of the nursing profession and other professions. Refrain from making unfair and unwarranted comments or criticisms on the competence and conducts and procedure, or not to do anything that will bring discredit to colleague. Ayan. Okay, mahilig tayo dyan. Mag-chismis, di ba? Okay. So yan. RNs and the society and the environment. Okay. So this talks about preservation of life, respect for human rights, promotion of the environment. Again, ang sarap maging ng nurse, 'di ba? Sarap maging nurse because we have the opportunity, okay, to change the world, because our code of ethics is requiring us to participate or to have that civic consciousness. Imagine if the legislator and the president or any high-ranking official who would take the policies, okay, take the cudgels of policy making, makikita mo the country will be taken care of, okay? Because, nurses are, at the end of the day, bound by these laws in helping promotion of healthcare, okay, leading the lives in conformity with right conduct and decorum, and uplifting the image of the nursing profession and establishing linkages with the public and promoting local, national, and international efforts to meet health and social needs of the people as contributing to members of the society. And lastly, Article 6, RNs and the profession. Okay, so loyalty and preserving the integrity of the profession. It talks about growth, development, and improvement in socio-economic conditions and the general welfare of nurses. Ayan nga, So strive to secure equitable socio-economic and conditions in nursing through appropriate legislations and other means. Also, to assert for implementation of labor and work standards. Okay? Ayan. Ang liwanag, appropriate legislations and other means to uplift the nursing profession. All right? So, with that, I thank you very much for joining me and joining us in this webinar to learn more about nurses and the law and the legal foundations that build nursing philosophy. I hope that you are reminded and you are guided by your duties and responsibilities as nurses. And with that, as nurses, you are sent to build a better world. Thank you and good morning.
Thank you, Attorney Stephen, for that very informative and remarkable topic. I am sure that our participants learn a lot and imbibes the the values through the legal foundations in which they could apply in their daily work in the new normal and beyond. As we now finish with the lecture, we will proceed with the question and answer portion, and it will be assisted by Mr. Arvin Baes.
Thank you, Ma'am Alma. Thank you, Attorney Stephen, for that very insightful and noteworthy discussions on the legal issues governing the nursing practice. We have two questions from the stream. So for the first question, for nurses practicing in the hospital, do we have the rights to refuse to handle COVID cases regardless of our health status? Is there a legal mandate for that premise? Thank you, sir.
Okay, do you have the right to not to accept
Refuse.
COVID cases or refuse COVID cases? Again,
Yeah.
yeah. Is there a legal mandate to it? There is no legal mandate to that. But if there is a showing that you are a conscientious objector because of your religious beliefs, okay, or your conscience could not take it, then there would be, there would be a justification for you. But again, if this is an emergency circumstance, you do not have any option but to render effective nursing care to that person. And also, if it will compromise you as a nurse, okay, you can ask, you can refuse. Kasi how can you help someone if you are also at risk, di ba? Pag rule sa emergencies, di ba? If you're the emergency responder, if you're the first responder, your duty first is to, make sure that you are safe before you do the rescuing. So, yun. Okay, there's no legal mandate to it. Hindi ka naman ikukulong. That's not criminal.
Thank you, sir. For the second question, so truly code of ethics for professional nurses plays a major role in the practice of nursing profession. So for the second question, this is regarding with the COVID-19 pa rin po. So is there a certain negotiation that can be between nurses and the institution or the company or the hospital to make specifically the tenure, the hazard pay, etc. Do we have the rights to demand for a better workplace or tenure?
Definitely. Definitely, yes. There is a law on occupational hazards. There is a labor law on labor relations, which allows for the certain procedures. Our labor code recognizes collective bargaining. And these are done through your respective employee federations or unions. And also, with regard to occupational safety, there is a provision on the occupational safety law, which requires the employer to have to meet the standards of safety, like for example, providing PPEs and all. With regard to the safety aspect, it's a demandable and enforceable law. Okay, it's the occupational safety hazard law that we have requires the employer to comply with the minimum standards provided by the law. And also with regard to the part where you are asking about negotiating the the hazard pay or whatever additional benefits that may be given to nurses, definitely. And you can course that with your collective bargaining powers. When you join forces through your union and federations, you can ask. You can also ask. And but there is a limitation to that kasi nga, meron rules na fina-follow when it comes to renegotiating your collective bargaining agreement. But it can be done naman, especially in these times that there is a need and demand for more healthcare workers to, renegotiate those terms of the agreement in compliance with the labor code. Yes. So that's
Thank you, sir.
right that you have.
Sir, another poll question from the group. So sorry, sir. The second tranche of the salary standardization law of 2019 for government nurses was scheduled to begin this January 2021. Was this already applied or implemented? And can this be applied to the private institutions? And what's the plan or stand of the government for this?
Okay.
Thanks, sir.
With regard to that, it should be implemented. I don't know if the DOH has already implemented this, okay? But I think there were already moves wherein these laws, okay, as far as I know, I'm not saying this with certainty, but as far as I know, the salary grade 15 has already been implemented, but the problem in the implementation is that, okay, those nurses who are entry level, they receive salary grade 15, but I think it's the DOH or the DBM, which lowered, okay, those who are already nurse 2, they made them nurse 1. So I think there is already an implementation of that. That's why I'm saying there's an implementation of the 2019 budget. Okay, and now the other question that you asked is, can it be applied with private hospitals? The sad answer and the hurtful answer that I will give you, and as much as we want to apply this, the truth is it cannot be. Why? Because the law only covers government nurses, those who are in the public healthcare system. And kasi the problem with that is the government cannot impose that to private hospitals. These are because they are private entities and they are, unless there is a law, okay? Unless there is a law requiring hospitals, the private hospitals, to implement salary grade 15. That's the only way that we can, enforce these government hospitals. These private hospitals to give out, okay, the same salary as those nurses which are given in the government. But in our scenario today, where the public healthcare system is really overwhelmed, I think it's an incentive then if the private hospitals would to attract recruitment, would make their the salaries for entry-level nurses the same with those salaries received by government nurses. But also, we have to take into consideration also, maswerte siguro if that hospital is, well, financially stable, because many hospitals nowadays are also, in the red. So I've heard. So, those are the considerations.
Thank you, sir, for that answers for the questions being raised to the session. So I think that would be all for the question and answers. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah. Look like Attorney Stephen answered all your questions. And is there anything, Attorney, you want to mention?
I think I've mentioned so many things already, and but if there is one thing that I really want everyone to part with this session, is that it feels good to be a nurse, because you are given the power and the opportunity to change the world even in these darkest scenarios. You change the world one patient at a time. As Dr. Jana said, we smile because that smile radiates. So kahit hindi nakikita siguro yung mga faces natin because we are wearing mask and PPE, we smile with our eyes and we bring hope. As a COVID survivor then, life is beautiful. And what makes life beautiful today is that we are also nurses and that we are capable of being brave, being brave to um, still care for others despite all the risks that we have in this pandemic. We are tested. We are tested in this pandemic. Our courage, our bravery, our strength. Kaya nga, di ba, last year was considered as the year of nurses and midwives. And the COVID pandemic made it a more profound, okay, realization that, you know, the skeleton of the healthcare system are the nurses. Without them, the healthcare system will really crumble. And we realize the importance of these professions. We see the beauty of this profession, that it is a profession that gives life and hope. So I hope everyone realizes that if when we talk about philosophy of nursing, may I add that one governing principle, not legal principle, but one governing principle that we must always have is that when we go out there as nurses, we are the light and salt of the earth. Thank you.
Thank you once again, Attorney Stephen. And now, may I call on another facilitator of this webinar, Mr. Arby James Abonalla, the Peri Nurse of 360 Medical Center, to present a certificate of appreciation and a token of gratitude for our dear resource speaker, and to give some reminder also about the webinar link evaluation.
Thank you, Ma'am Alma. Their certificate reads, Philippine Women's University, Manila Campus, 1743 Top Avenue, Manila, Philippines. Graduate School of Nursing, PhD in Nursing. Hereby award the Certificate of Appreciation to Attorney John Stephen Humiwat for his invaluable contribution in the advancement of nursing practice by sharing his expertise as resource speaker during the event titled The Legal Foundation of Nursing Philosophy, given this day, 23rd of January 2021 at the Philippine Women's University, Manila. Signed, Arvin Baes, Student Chairperson, John Oliver Z. De Leon, Overall Chairman, and the Dean of School of Nursing, Dr. Minerva B. Diala. And for our presentation of token appreciation, this plant is known as Bromeliad Guzmania Red from our group to be given to Attorney Stephen as token of our appreciation. And for our webinar evaluations, reminders, we will be posting a link on the comments section and we will be send the certificates to your email after accomplish the evaluation of our event. Again, for our web evaluation, kindly check the comment section. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Arby. To give us the closing remark for this event, may I call on the Research Director, the Learning Management System Administrator, and the Department Chair of Information Technology. I am very proud to present to you Dr. Menchita F. Dumlao.
Good morning, everyone. A pleasant good morning to all of you. First of all, I would like to congratulate the School of Nursing for this very successful webinar. This is truly a relevant activity. Me, myself, even if I'm not a nurse, I learned a lot from our dear speaker. Thank you, Attorney Stephen. This is really very awakening, okay, especially for our nursing professionals today. And we hope that we can get more updates of this kind of topics. I would like to emphasize some of the important points that I was able to ponder. And I think those points, I may not be able to grasp everything, but I think our nurses especially our students, undergraduate students, and also the graduate students, our faculty members, must always be aware of it, as these laws, rules, and regulations calls for our duties and responsibility in as much as um, the rights of nurses. So I fully agree with Attorney Stephen that nurses are the life and soul of the earth. It's true. So without nurses, maybe we cannot imagine how the world has been, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. So thank you very much, Attorney Stephen. And also, I would like to congratulate the Dean of School of Nursing, Dr. Minerva Diala, for successful webinars like this. So even during last year, the School of Nursing has been doing these kinds of webinar, and not only PWU community has been very beneficial on these kinds of activity, but also other institutions who are watching on us live. And of course, to the organizers, to the students, the MC, Dr. Alma Axalan. Ma'am, thank you for this very successful pioneering of this activity. This is really a very good performance. I hope we can get more of this type of activity. And I would like to congratulate the students, the class who initiated this event. So without I don't want to take much of your time, but congratulations everyone. And I know this is a series of webinars, so I think we're looking forward for 2 more topics, okay, which are related to our topic for today. So I would like to request the viewers of this webinar to still sign on to the next series of webinars so that you can get more benefits and learnings out of our from our very competent speaker. So again, thank you, Dr. Stephen, and good morning to everyone.
Morning, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Dumlao. Okay. Of course, we would like to thank the very important people on this event because this webinar will not be possible without the help of the following. Mr. Marco Alfredo Benitez, the University President, Dr. Badiala, the Dean School of Nursing, Dr. Menchita F. Dumlao, the Program Chair, Information Technology, and to Mr. Michael Ventanilla, the Information Communication Technology Department Head, and to the Multimedia Broadcasting Team, Mr. Bob Thomas, Mr. Popo Castro, and Ms. Vladimir Villamor. To Ms. Lourdes Cabatuando and Mr. Emmanuel Kivan from the Web Administration, and Ms. Celia C. Francisco, the Administrative Assistant, School of Nursing, and to Mr. Nelson Gillian Jr., the Administration and Marketing Manager, and to Ms. Jennifer D. Girola, the Administrative Assistant of Office of the President. We also would like to acknowledge the CBRC Vice Technical Staff, and for your online media events, contact the CBRC Vice Facebook page. And lastly, for the webinar committee, the Section Overall Chairperson Program and Evaluation, Dr. John Oliver De Leon, and to our Student Chairperson, Mr. Arvin Baes, and to our Group Secretariat, si Ms. Alpha Marie Baes, and the co-persons, Arby James Abonalla and Ms. Haiton C, and yours truly, Alma Axalan. And to close this webinar, let us sing the PWU hymn. Thank you and have a nice day. God bless us all and please keep safe everyone.
PWU was founded in June of 1919. They wanted to give Filipinas a better opportunity, a better education so that they could play a more active role in society, but at the same time still being the heart and the foundation of the family unit.
It has produced a roster of alumni who have achieved in their respective field of specialization.
Professors, administrators, and even students are treating each other just like family.
When COVID-19 hit, Metro Manila was declared to be under lockdown.
There was an announcement that there will be online classes and we cannot go back to the classroom.
Can we manage handling classes with this new setup?
Kung mawawalan po ako ng internet, how would I continue my education?
Connectivity and availability of suitable devices was a big issue. So we tried to address that by partnering with Globe. The representatives showed us the capability and the features of the G Suite Enterprise for Education. We decided that this was something that we needed. So the university had shifted to G Suite for Education because of its affordability. And as we continue to evaluate and get feedback, that is when the decision to upgrade to G Suite Enterprise for Education, which was more robust.
They make applications and softwares that are free and accessible to all students.
G Suite offers variety of tools that made it easier for me to think of more creative ways to deliver the instruction.
Faculty members are happy because students are participative, and of course they are not stressed in using Google Classroom because it's really very simple.
Google Docs is really helpful for us students. They have the feature of being able to change or edit or revision directly.
The Google Jamboard sits like an interactive whiteboard which replaces the whiteboard that I use in a regular classroom.
Google provided us a good platform wherein we can mimic the actual experience of our student in campus. We'll be able to deliver what's necessary for our students.
We intend to still continue using virtual learning even after the pandemic.
The technology allows PWU not only to survive, but also to adapt and to thrive in terms of addressing the needs and the wants of the new generation.
With PWU's quality education and with the great help of Google and Globe, the integration of both would result to a great future.
Google Enterprise for Education makes PWU future ready because it allows us to deliver education to all of our students regardless of where they are. It will allow PWU to be more resilient, to be less disrupted in terms of delivery of education, of continuity of operations and systems with the help of Google Enterprise for Education.